Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Elizabeth Wernberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. Today, we're talking about how something not unfolding the way you want or the way you thought it was going to doesn't mean it's not unfolding or it's not happening or it's not going to happen or any and all of these ego stories that come up. Okay. So, as humans, it's very, very common for us. We like to be in control. We like to have the illusion of control. We like to think, okay, I decided I wanted this thing, and so it's going to go like this exact way. This is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and it's going to unfold perfectly in this, very linear, clear, no hiccup way. Okay, sometimes that happens, and there's nothing wrong with wanting things to happen that way. But sometimes things do not unfold like that. Okay, how we thought, how we wanted, just these ways that we thought it was going to happen. And this could be conscious ways that we know we're expecting this to happen, but it can also be subconscious, unconscious. It could be, we just don't realize, oh, I didn't realize I thought it was going to be like that until it starts not being like that. And that mirror is held up and we're like, oh, wait, okay. So the first thing I want to say about this is that God is in charge and not us. Okay. So that means when we ask for something or we have like the desire in our heart for it, there's a lot of things that we don't know that need to come together for us. And that can include like other people, or imperfect opportunity, other situations, things we can't control. Also things we need to clear out within ourselves, right? So sometimes we think like, okay, well, I want this thing. I want this new thing. I'm ready for this new phase of my life, or, whatever thing you want to have happen for you. But we don't realize, okay, well, we have to clear some of this old stuff out, or, this and this has to align perfectly for it to come up for us, right? So that we're a better match and we actually are ready for the thing we say we want or that we're trying to work towards. So that's number one, that can happen is sometimes, when we're like, okay, I'm ready, here I go. We think we're ready for it. We think we're a perfect match for it, but there's something maybe we need to learn or work through, or there's some delay that happens, or a detour or an obstacle that comes up, and then we're like, oh, well, this must not be for me. It must not be working out because of this. But the truth is, obstacles are the way, right? Just because something isn't smooth sailing doesn't mean that you're going the wrong way. These things we have to learn tend to make us a better match for the thing that we're waiting for, right? These things have to come up to clear out so they're out of the way. Or again, we have to maybe get a little bit stronger in our faith, in this particular lesson, in whatever, it's up to you to discern what your actual lesson is in each of these moments. But just remembering that, we all have our own spiritual lessons to learn, and they all come in different forms for us, for us to learn the lesson that is for us. And of course, when that happens, that's kind of like the first push up against of like, oh, well, I thought it was going to go this and this and this way, but it didn't. And so that's kind of the first thing that can contribute to like so much confusion, hardship, heartbreak, disappointment, like some setbacks, right? So just feeling like, again, we're out of our comfort zone. Things are going a little differently than feels comfortable for me, than what my ego wanted, than what I was attached to or not attached to, right? So again, we all have our spiritual lessons, and we have to, if we really believe that God is like a loving, kind, subtle sometimes, but not malicious energy, you're going to have to deal with these things that come up, because you're either going to deal with it now or have to deal with it later. So that's why obstacles are the way. Things not going your way can be the way sometimes, because again, there's so many things as humans that we have to learn that we would not willingly choose for ourselves to learn in a certain particular way, right? That's just the nature of being on earth. That's the nature of being in this realm. There are hardships, there are tests, there are things to work through on the soul level that, again, we wouldn't necessarily choose for ourselves to want to do. But the one thing we can have faith in, and, this is a lot of times a test in spiritual fitness, right? We think we're spiritually fit. We think, oh, I have a lot of faith, I have a lot of trust, but a lot of times things are just kind of going our way or going the way we want. And so when there's kind of that pushback of like, oh no, this isn't what I wanted, this isn't what I thought, then some of that spiritual fitness needs to be, you got to work out your spiritual fitness a little bit more again. Okay. And it's just remembering that, God's plan for us is so divine. We only see one tiny little piece of God's plan, and God's plan for us is so divine that there's always a plan working in our favor before we even realize that there's a problem. The solution has already been created before our human minds can even recognize that there's like a problem or something that's out of whack or not going our way, right? And so when we understand that and we really embody that and believe that, it's easier for us to kind of move out of that place of, oh, God's punishing me. Why is this happening to me? Or, you know, the horrible mainstream law of attraction. I attracted this thing, you know, this unideal circumstance. You didn't. Okay. Again, this is life on life's terms. This is other people's experiences, other people's free will brought into our own experiences. Again, this is just the nature of life. It's not just all about us. We are existing in life on life's terms. Not everything is just going to be the way we want, the way we think it should be all the time. And again, just a reminder, if we really believe that God is loving and kind and compassionate, which God is, then we have to remember that God helps us get through hard times. God doesn't, you know, punish us with these to be malicious, to be cruel, to harm us, right? God is there to kind of soften the blow, not to be like, haha, got ya, you know, with all these things. And another thing to think about this, so again, building on this, if we believe all of that, then you need to ask yourself, like, how do you know that this isn't folding exactly how it's supposed to? How do you know it's not unfolding in a way that is for your highest good? How do you know that what you're learning in this discomfort and these things that feel really bad isn't actually for your benefit? Okay. Again, we see such a little tiny part of this unfolding. It's so easy for us to be like, oh, it's not happening because this happened instead of this, or this went like this, or this was like this, or this was like this, right? So how do we actually know that it's not unfolding for our benefit? We don't. Okay. It's just, again, these attachments we had, these things of the way it should be. And so then we just get so stuck in that. And then we go into like, oh no, I thought it was going to be like this. But if we are really honest with ourselves, it's very clear the way we were trying to control things that we couldn't actually control in this situation, right? So a small example, let's say, you know, you're driving and this road is closed, so you have to take a detour. It takes you like 10 extra minutes to get where you're going. You're really upset, you know, like, oh my God. And then you find out later there was an accident on that road and you potentially avoided that accident, right? So it's a smaller example, but that's just one way, you know, I'm sure you have many examples in your life. You can brainstorm, you can journal, you can just ask to be shown these ways that, you know, we find out later, like, oh, wow, thank God I avoided that. Or thank God, you know, I thought I wanted this one job, but then I didn't get it until a few months later. But in those few months, right, I learned this lesson I needed to learn, or I got rid of this certain thing I wanted to get rid of, or, you know, I thought I was ready for this certain relationship, but I had to clear out some things in myself too before I was ready, right? So sometimes we can know why the unfolding took a little detour, or we can be reflective. Again, we can use our own discernment to realize what spiritual lessons were there for us in each of those things. But sometimes we don't know. And that's why, again, if you have faith, if you have the spiritual fitness, if you have this self-awareness, that can help us self-soothe through this process. Another example in my personal life. So over a decade ago, so I was like, I wanted to get healthy. I wanted to learn how to like eat properly, nourish my body, all this, like, but I just kept like, you know, putting it off. Well, okay, I'll get there. Right. But then I got a pretty extreme health diagnosis, and it really made me look at, you know, I had this motivation of, what am I eating? How am I eating it? How often am I eating? How am I moving my body? How do I speak to my body? What kind of relationship do I have with my body? Right. And it was kind of this catalyst for this whole new birthing of a relationship with my body and health, not just physical health, but spiritual, emotional, physical, all this well-being came from that one thing. So obviously in the moment, it was very painful. I was not happy. I got this health diagnosis, kind of turned my whole life around. I had to change a lot of things. I had to put my energy in certain places. I had to reevaluate a lot of things in my life. I had to think about a lot of things, you know, so, but again, would I have chosen that path for myself? Absolutely not. But as usual, you know, God gave it to me in the way that I needed, and hardship is part of our lessons. And I just want to make sure I'm not romanticizing this. I'm not like, yeah, we want things that we wouldn't choose for ourselves, right? But that is part of being on earth, is part of our growth, is part of our shedding, is part of our learning. And just remembering that, again, those things aren't malicious. They're there to help us be on the path if we're willing enough to, you know, look at it in that way. And again, I just want to reiterate that, you know, I don't want to minimize if you're going through a hard time or you're kind of in this this phase where you have to do a lot of self-soothing, where you have to use your healthy toolkit, where you have to rely a lot on these things to get us through these hard times. I don't want to minimize that. I don't want to sound crass. I don't want to like, romanticize or be like, there's a spiritual lesson in everything, because sometimes you do need to be in the anger and the frustration and the pain and the disappointment, knowing how to let yourself feel feelings and staying with yourself and honoring yourself and using a healthy toolkit to feel these feelings and process them is also another wonderful gift that we can get from this unfolding, right? It deepens our relationship with ourselves. It deepens our relationship with our higher power, all these things. So again, as someone who's experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of not very fun situations in my life, we hang in there and we keep going, but it's been a lot of ego deaths, a lot of attachments, a lot of illusions shattering, but when you're at the place where you've self-soothed enough and you've kind of processed and gotten through that first little bit of really hard times, or you're in a place where you can kind of be open to this a little bit more than, when you're kind of just first trying to work through it. I totally get it. But when you're ready to take the steps to move forward and reframe it for yourself, just reminding ourselves that not unfolding in the way that we thought, or, the very simple, clear way doesn't mean it's not unfolding. Of course, sometimes it can just be very straightforward. It can just be, oh, I apply for this job. I got it. Here I go. The end. That definitely is possible. But this is for those times, when ego can get very upset and can be like, I thought it was going to be like this. It's when that happens, it's up to us to focus on the things we can control, continuing to take care of ourselves, not abandoning ourselves, continuing to, nourish our bodies in a loving way, exercising our bodies, moving our bodies, speaking kindly to ourselves, doing our self-care practice, being involved in the things we're involved in our life, right? You don't have to be perfect. Of course, I'm not perfect, but the important thing is to not abandon yourself when these things come up, or you kind of get thrown in this loop. It's about staying with yourself, staying centered, and staying committed to yourself as you work through this stuff, instead of being like responding in a way that feels like you're totally out of control from these circumstances. And the last thing I want to say about this, I want to make it very, very clear. Sometimes when things unfold in a way that we wouldn't expect, or where we find ourselves in a situation that's not the most nourishing or the most loving, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have boundaries, or you should put up with people being cruel to you, or you still need to protect yourself and honor yourself, and having all of that, and you can still allow things to be different if you need to be. And you get, again, if it unfolds in a way, and like relationship change or a situation change, and it's like very toxic or not healthy for you, sometimes the unfolding is, we need to learn to stand up for ourselves, to say no, to have a conversation, to set a boundary, to do all this. So, flowing with the way things are unfolding doesn't mean that you suddenly have no boundaries, that you don't care about, staying in your integrity. It doesn't mean you don't care about protecting yourself, honoring yourself, respecting yourself. Like, okay, I just want to make that very, very clear. If these situations come up and change, and you realize you do need to have certain boundaries you didn't have before, or things needed to be a little different, then by all means, we all need to respect ourselves, honor our peace, honor our boundaries, and just get very clear about making sure we maintain our integrity and our self-respect through all this. Okay, that's everything I have for you. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.